For the last couple of weeks, we've been telling you about the growing list of brands who have committed to attend Switchback Spring, the new outdoor industry gathering for education, networking, and business coming to Nashville June 16th through the 18th of this year. It's an impressive list for sure, including some of the biggest and most beloved brands in the outdoor world, including Arc'teryx, The North Face, Darn Tough, Code Epoxy, Teva, Merrell, and Rumpel. But along with these big brands are scores of emerging and new ones to be discovered there too, like Vargo Outdoors, Ombra's Armless Sunglasses, Click, Heated, Jambar, Drankful, Bevo, and Artelect. And guys, this is only a sampling. Tomorrow, Tuesday, February 11th, Switchback Spring will be releasing its full exhibitor list on its website. I got a sneak peek at it, and it's a variable who's who of the outdoor industry, plus a ton of brands that could just become the next big industry player. With the growing list of committed brands and Switchback Spring's emphasis on education, community, and ideas, the event is shaping up to be the go-to meetup for specialty retailers, brands, media, and outdoor organizations. And registration is open, guys. So head over to switchbackevent.com and register today. Check out the exhibitor list tomorrow. And be sure to save me a seat in Nashville this June. Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and today we are again ranking outdoor brands, with our focus today being on gear. That's right, today is the Rock Fight's top 5 outdoor gear brands. But before we get to that, have you subscribed to Rock Fight's weekly newsletter? If not, you still have time to get all that original Rock Fight content that we put in our newsletter. That's a real newsletter, real content, not just another outdoor link aggregator. Head to rockfight.co and click on join the mailing list to sign up. If you're new around here, we'd love for you to subscribe and join the Rock Fight. I'm talking to you who haven't subscribed yet. Have you subscribed? Subscribe to the Rock Fight. Hit the follow button on whatever podcast app you're listening to us on. Also, give us that 5-star rating. Make sure you come back to the Rock Fight this Wednesday, where Justin Hausman and I will be taking our weekly turn through the headlines that come out of the outdoor adventure community. And lastly, come back to us this Friday to hear my conversation with Peter Wickham from Tersa Solutions. I mean, if you think you know all about the inner workings of the secondhand outdoor market, well, you definitely will after you hear the chat I had with Peter. And with that, let's start the show. All right, guys, our top story today, it's our only story today. It's still brought to you by your hub for ultralight outdoor gear, Garage Grown Gear, which is apt because I'm not sure we'll mention any of GGG brands today, but this will still easily be our most gear-centric episode of 2025. Thanks to Garage Grown Gear for making this episode possible. We'll tell you guys a little bit more about them in a little bit. But after the roaring success of assembling our top 5 outdoor footwear brands about a month ago, today we're gathered to do the same for gear. That's right, we're going to be putting together our list of the current top 5 gear brands in the human-powered outdoor industry. And just like last time, we've assembled the various hosts, producers, and consiglieres from across the Rock Fight universe. We have producer Dave, we have Owen Comerford, we have Justin Hausman, and let's go around the horn here real quick. Justin, let's start with you. Why do you think, or do you think, that ranking gear will be any easier than ranking footwear?
I think it'll be... my instinct is easier, and I was going to say because somehow it feels less subjective, and then I realized that doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. So I don't know. I have stronger feelings about gear, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, Dave, how many tents have you tested so far out in the field in 2025?
In 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's probably been a lot.
2025, yeah. You've had 5 weeks now.
Tents,
so
0 tents
all right,
in 2025.
Dave's disqualified from this call. We had a minimum you had to hit, Dave.
Well, you live in San Diego, so shut your mouth.
I'm also backing out of that then because I haven't.
You
It's
gotta get out in the
33
rain.
degrees. No, it's not rain. It's snowing right now.
It's snowing today?
Yeah, you go put your tent someplace else.
I did take a tent out of its stuff sack last weekend to let it dry out because it just got rained on just because it's raining so much. Rain's finding its way into everything.
That
so
counts.
Does that count?
Testing.
I didn't sleep in it, but I took it out and I dried it out.
Was it less wet than you would hope it would be?
Sure. Yeah. The hydrophobic qualities of this Big Agnes was just incredible.
Oh, and you're Rock Fight's most trusted lieutenant here. I mean, how did you let us do an entire outdoor footwear pod and not mention Solomon?
Actually, Colin, we were testing our listeners there, really, just to see, was anyone actually listening? Are they really paying attention? And kudos to you, listeners. You are paying attention, and that's why you get this show. Mm-hmm. If nobody had called us out on Solomon, we would have said, "Okay, nobody gives a fuck anything that we say, so we're not going to do it." But no, but you passed the test, so bravo to you.
So what you're saying is be on the lookout for what we missed today.
Oh, absolutely. I can guarantee you we'll miss something.
And it too will be a test, not at all a glaring
Yeah, it's a pop
oversight.
quiz. Yeah.
I will tell you, actually,
Absolutely
though,
something we meant
in
to
all
do.
seriousness, we have quadrupled our research budget for this particular episode.
That's true. That's true.
Do you want to reveal the numbers behind that, or
Well, so the original budget was $0, so we have quadrupled
Yeah.
that number.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, you
Yep.
could tell me that 4 times 0 is 0, but it's still 4 more times the
Exactly.
original
It's still
one.
4 more
I'm
zero.
going to
A
say I
lot
did
more,
throw in
yeah.
a bag of gummy bears, but other than that, that's
The
well,
good,
I didn't
the
think
good
so.
kind of gummy bears? Or?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I don't know if they made it all the way around.
Should we rank? Let's rank gummy bears next.
I'm
Probably
down
more
for,
credibility.
I am down for that conversation.
We did have some reader. I mean, obviously, we talked a lot about our Solomon miss. We've mentioned that on the pod before, and I'm happy we can reveal today that was intentional. Like that was great that we could do that. But the another one, I really do feel like we should have mentioned Brooks, which we didn't mention Brooks. That's the other one. We did have one reader email that said that these episodes are a little broy, that we should throw a female voice into the mix when we're doing these crossover events. Which I mean, at some point, I'd like to. We'll get some other folks in here eventually, but right now this is the panel we're rolling with today, guys. So
Very fair point.
That is a good point.
And maybe, somebody under the age of 40. I don't know. Crazy.
all right,
idea.
let's not get crazy, okay?
What, they don't know what they're talking about.
We're all right. What are we doing today? Today we're going to create a list of the current top 5 outdoor. I almost said footwear again. Outdoor gear brands. So we are treating gear and accessories as different. So there'll be some gray that we're working in. Things like we're looking more things at like backpacks, sleeping bags, stoves and water filters. Those will fall in, I'm sure. Water bottles, coolers, which I know we're going to talk about in a second. Camp chairs. Those we're going to probably put more in the accessory camp, and we'll do an accessory episode eventually. We're going to be ranking the brand, not a product. So the brands must be known for gear first. And maybe this is the time to actually have this conversation. I think when we're looking at a brand like the North Face and Patagonia, both of whom make gear, but when you think of them, you think apparel first. At least I do. I think let's just maybe open this up to the room. But
I would like to offer an effort at distinction between what we're talking about, right? So
Please.
gear brands are core equipment. They're necessary for the primary activity. Right. And so you're talking about your tents, your backpacks, your harnesses, your skis. Well, we're not doing skis, but kayaks, things like that. Like that's the gear where accessories are complementary to the activity, not essential, always important, but not essential. So that would be the gloves and the socks
I don't
and
know.
the water paws.
Socks are
Right.
essential. How do you say socks aren't essential? They're still an accessory.
In your Tevas or your Bedrocks.
Well, then in that case, Colin, don't open. Why are you opening this door? Because now it's like, well,
I'm just
wouldn't you say the
throwing
same
this
about
out there as a
footwear?
way to distinguish you guys with that. Now,
No, there's
now
gray.
let
There
the
is
let
gray.
the
I
gray
agree with you
area,
here. Yeah.
obviously the overlap,
Yeah.
let that begin. But just in terms of that trying to true north, it's that primary activity, right? That's the
I agree with
idea.
that.
Okay, so
I'm
then
throwing
do we
that
need
out
to
there.
include a brand like a Yeti?
I'm not including
Right.
anybody in this right now. I'm just saying.
But are you going to go car camping without a cooler?
Yeah.
Wait a
that's
minute. How many times
this is
have
a
I
t-
gone
Yeti's
car
a tough
camping
one.
without a cooler is the question. Right?
I mean, you can.
Right?
You definitely can.
All you really need is a
Okay.
car.
Right.
You're car camping.
I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't, but you definitely can. But you could also go camping without a stove.
Can you buy a
So-
cooler that also doesn't have a whole run of YouTube videos attached to it?
Oh.
Not anymore. Just those styrofoam ones on the top of the freezer
okay.
section at
Just
your local
checking.
grocery store.
I think we
those
should
ones.
consider coolers and Yeti. I think we should save that for the accessory conversation, if for no other reason it makes the accessory conversation that much more interesting.
Well, yeah, and especially since they actually do more in drinkware than they do in coolers. And drinkware, I would
Yeah.
agree, is an accessory.
Right. Now, what about on
Yeah.
the apparel side with like a brand like the North Face or Patagonia? I do think both of them we should. I understand North Face still makes tents. Patagonia makes.
Patagonia barely
Right.
makes gear. I mean,
it's
they
all
really,
it's the black
barely.
hole duffel, and that's it, really.
Yeah. I mean, their sleeping bag that they made a few years ago is my all-time favorite sleeping bag, but they don't make it anymore.
So North Face, Patagonia out for this conversation.
I think
Yes.
so.
And what about I think the other two brands on that list would be Marmot and Mountain Hardware.
Same.
Really?
To me.
Okay, because
I don't know
Mountain
because like
Hardware,
Marmot does make apparel. I would never buy their apparel, but I would happily buy one of their sleeping bags.
and their tents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mountain Hardware. I mean, Mountain Hardware has a pretty full line of gear. I mean, they've got sleeping bags. They've got tents. I think they've got packs.
I think on the 12-person
They do.
dome
They
tent,
make packs.
hardware gets a pass just on that.
Just the legacy one, the one they
Just
used to
on
set
that.
up at OR
Just on
and stuff
that.
like
That
that.
thing is a base camp in a box right there.
The problem is I tend to forget about
do
that,
too.
but I bet you I wouldn't if I was a hardcore climber. I mean, they make some nice climbing packs. I've had a couple Mountain Hardware tents that I was not impressed with, but I haven't had one in a few years. And they have made very good sleeping bags in the past. So yeah, they probably should be. They should. I wouldn't. Yeah, they probably should be, but I do think of them more as an apparel brand for whatever reason.
All right, so in the first decision that's definitely going to annoy some of our listeners, we're going to keep the North Face and Patagonia out, but Mountain Hardwear and Marmot are in. So there's your first chance to write an email to myrockfight@gmail.com and tell us why you're angry about this list. Other brands, though, like GCI, Stanley, Solo Stove, I mean, those all feel either accessory or more, the backyard kind of stuff than maybe what we're talking about here.
I would agree.
Yes. Sorry, I for some reason confuse BioLite and Solo Stove sometimes. I have no idea why. Well, because BioLite started out making stoves, and so that's why. But now they make some of my favorite headlamps. I was going to push back for a split second, but never mind.
All right, so with that in mind, we have a list of 20 brands that we're going to discuss. Some of these brands we mentioned that are not going to be on. We have more than 20 brands, but we're going to eliminate some of the brands we just talked about. We've updated the criteria since the footwear episode to be more about the top brands by category revenue. So Owen has provided some information so we can kind of see the brands on the list. So less likely that we're going to be there's going to be an egregious oversight. But if you do feel like we missed one, let us know. We want to hear about it. And our goal is to go through the list, assemble a top 5, and we'll go through each brand, designate them as, again, green. That means they're in. Yellow, maybe, or red as in just straight out. And then we'll go back and debate the greens and the yellows to form our list of 5. And again, to the listener, we acknowledge we might miss some things here. From here on out, this will be known as the Solomon Corollary. Send us the most glaring omissions to myrockfight@gmail.com. And given that Garage Grown Gear is a Rockfight partner, that we recognize that there are hundreds of amazing and cool brands out there, but we don't have 8 hours to do a podcast about all of them. So a good rule of thumb is to kind of, when push comes to shove, would you stock this in your store? I still feel like that's going to apply here when we're having these debates.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get started, last thing, Garage Grown Gear, looking to lighten your load. Garage Grown Gear is your go-to hub for ultralight backpacking gear from the coolest small brands out there. If you're through hiking or overnighting, backpacking is more comfortable when you are carrying less weight. And with free shipping on orders over $50, GGG makes lightening your pack an easy and fun experience. Check out the most specialty of specialty shops at garagegrowngear.com. And that link is also in our show notes. Any words for Lloyd before we embark on talking a lot of brands that he doesn't sell? Should we that we want?
Well, we'll just not say that for sure because I'm looking through right now to see if there's any brands that are on here that he sells.
He does actually sell some of these brands
on here.
Oh.
Yep, he does.
Okay, well, there you go. I take it all back. Buy some of the brands you heard on this podcast over at GGG and get free shipping if it's over $50.
Yeah, because some of the ultralight tents are some of these brands make.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into our list. So number 20 on the list is Rumpel. I no offense to Josh and Wiley who were on not that long ago. I think when you're looking at this list, looking towards our top 5 gear brands, it's probably just an automatic red. But I don't want to step on you guys. What do you guys think?
I would say, how did that slip into the gear conversation and not be completely accessible?
It's used as a sleep system by ultralight backpackers.
Yeah, I've used Rumpel as my only sleep system before.
I'm just going to push back.
I think regardless, it's red.
It's a blanket.
Well, we could swap them out. And,
it's red.
It's a blanket.
It's red. No,
we just took out the North Face for that, and we did blanket, a cool blanket. All right, a very cool blanket.
Dave, the Portland police are going to come get you soon. You got to be careful.
They are. I realize I'm actually in hiding now.
That does sound like Ed Viesters would not have Rumpel on his list, and he would have North Face on his list for sure. But I have never used a North Face gear product, but I have definitely used only Rumpels in my
car
camping
it belongs
setup.
in the accessory, a wonderful accessory.
If we were going to swap it out, the contenders to take her spot would be Lecky or Lakey, however you want to pronounce it, Dometic or Catadine. So if you think one of those are more worthy of getting a red on this list.
Honestly, none of those are going to be in the
accessory
top
as
5.
well. Yeah, right.
So we're going to go for the cool points, the cool Portland points, and have Rumpel as number 20.
All right.
All right, cool. We talked Dave into it.
Wait, is Rumpel in Portland now?
Yeah,
they've always been.
I thought they started in San Francisco.
Look at you
No,
just trying to
just
claim.
where their money comes from.
No, they had an office in San Francisco on Market
Hey,
Street.
Dave's culture is not your costume, Justin. All right.
I think there was a little
This
dual.
is
I think there
cultural
was some dual
appropriation.
citizenship going on there in its early days.
All right, number 19 on the list is Deuter. What do we got to say about Deuter? I like Deuter. I've had a bunch of Deuter packs that I really
Very
like.
good kids backpack. Very good backpacks for babies.
Yeah.
Like to put a baby in one.
The reality is, Deuter makes a lovely backpack, but their business in the U.S. is primarily kid carriers. That's what really drives their business. So
Auto red.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have Rumple before I'd have Deuter.
Wow.
Wow. Those poor Germans, right? Yeah.
I think they are German. And speaking of which, you will see them all over the place in Europe. That's like all you're going to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
All right, red. Sea to Summit, number 18.
Green.
Auto green, not yellow. You want to go green?
I just love Sea to Summit's product so much. I realize that isn't necessarily the thrust of this conversation, but like just in terms of like overall quality, thoughtfulness behind what the stuff that they make such a nobody else on this brand or on this list is going to make such a wide range of things. I mean, see, I have surfboard racks that are Sea to Summit. I have some of my favorite sleeping bags and tents are Sea to Summit. Like, I mean, they make so much incredible stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I did think of them in like my gut when I saw their name was more accessories, but then you got to remember, no, they do make tents. They do make make a lot. Of
they make
stuff,
some of the best like OG ultralight sleeping bags or the Spark Sea to Summit Spark. That is such a good sleeping bag. I mean, they're legit. They make tents that are phenomenal too. They're great.
We can put them at green. I mean, we're not doing this right if we don't end up with more than 5 greens, right, to go back and debate. So, I
mean, I think it's a great brand. Lots of interesting product. From a volume perspective, they don't obviously maybe fit the bill, but they're definitely worthy of being in the conversation.
I would just say that their name is Sea to Summit. That is one of the most literal naming conventions you can have. Definitely belong in the gear.
It's so totally.
Dave bringing the heat.
Shout out to Australia. They're a Western Australia brand. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That gives them like cool points alone because everything from Australia is cool, especially when you're an American. So, all right. Well,
and then from West Australia, which is like even cooler. They're not from Sydney.
Okay, we got back to back. The next two are going to definitely spark some debate. We have number 17. We have Mountain Hardware. I mean, I think it's kind of to our earlier thing. I think it's kind of almost auto green, but I mean, definitely yellow. It's not red.
Dome tent. Just saying. Dome tent.
Okay, I'll give it yellow.
Yeah, I guess I know it's not going to be in the top 5. So
whoa,
fair,
big predictions.
Exactly.
It's not.
There's a lot of good gear brands.
I wish it was. I mean, I have a soft spot for Mountain Hardware. They're local to me.
I guess it's a generational thing.
A lot of their stuff I really like a lot, but again, I wouldn't stock them. Like that wouldn't be like a go-to anything.
You stock their apparel first, so should we have punted them?
No, I don't even think I would stock their apparel, to be honest, at this point. Again, but I'm also not a climber. I do feel like they're a bit more climbing oriented, or at least they used to be. But they wouldn't be my go-to for
more alpinism than rock climbing, right? I think. Right. Yeah, they're kind of right there. I guess they become when you're making your Patagonian North Face sort of open to buy. Like, how much do you want to give the hardware as sort of an alternative to that grouping? I think, but let's make them yellow. We'll come back to them because the next one is I'm curious what everybody's going to say here about Marmot. Because we talked about, I can't remember if we said this before we hit record or on the mic. I look at Marmot. I know they're an apparel brand, but I would never buy their apparel, but I would absolutely buy some of their gear. I just think I've had Marmot sleeping bags. They've been great. There's kind of like. Just back to our footwear conversation, they're kind of a steady Eddie when it comes to things like sleeping bags. So, what do you guys think?
I've used their tents, limestone. I mean, they solid product. Maybe not the most exciting, I would say, but solid.
Yeah,
I like so much of my rankings for these things are things I'd be like that I would be like happy to get one. Like if something shows up at my door and I'm like, oh cool, I get to review this, and like I can't think of a single thing for Marmot that would make me feel this way.
I'm neutral on this. I mean, they have sleeping bags, they have tents.
The point of the exercise is to not be neutral, David.
Is what I just said mean? I mean, I don't mean it to like. It's not. I'm not.
We just
this isn't
spent
a
4
judgment
months
on their
calling them a
quality.
zombie brand. I think we can be any more
I know,
mean.
but I just like
Marmot,
I don't
so.
like it's like I don't like if you work for Marmot and you design their products. It's not like I'm not.
If you work for Marmot and Newell is signing your paychecks, you're already understand this conversation.
Right, but look, they sell $1,000 sub 40 sleeping bags.
Yeah.
That's not a casual.
No, I know. Yeah,
casual item.
So are they yellow or are they red though? Is really the debate here. So we're not going to make them auto green, I don't think.
All right, I'm going to go yellow because it's nice.
The yellow feels right.
Marmot.
Yellow feels right.
All right, it's a win for you, Marmot. You're a yellow.
And do love marmots as the animal too. I mean, that's
So,
Right.
so let me ask you though, Colin, your zombie brand
Yeah.
designation, are you saving that just for the apparel side of their business, or it's a zombie brand is a zombie brand is a zombie
No,
brand?
it's a good question. I think it's across the board, but I think these are kind of like I think we talked about with Chaco. I think I look at them as sort of a zombie brand, but I also would completely put them in my store. I think when we get to the end, I don't think Marmot's going to be a green. I don't think they're even they would sniff the top 5, but I also don't think you can not talk about them in that way, that you would definitely consider bringing them into your shop.
Even a small gear shop probably is going to have 100 gear brands, right? So it's not
Yeah.
like we're saying that you could buy these 5 brands and have enough brands for your store. It's just these are the top 5.
The top 5, right.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's move into the next one, which is kind of interesting, which is Mountain Safety Research, MSR. I kind of see the Summit in a way. We're known for stoves mostly, but they also make snowshoes. They make all sorts of stuff, right? They also make their own line of their sleep systems and things as well. So
Water filtration system.
they have good water stuff.
is pretty big.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have MSR right
Yeah.
in your shop.
I have a lot of MSR stuff in my garage, and that makes it with me to the backcountry a lot, for sure.
Yeah, and their tents too.
Oh, that's right.
And they've been pretty innovative over the years as well in terms of carbon fiber tent poles and all kinds of good stuff.
I forgot about how good their tents are.
They're in the conversation.
Yeah, their tents are really good. What is it called? The Access. I've had a couple of their 4-season tents that are really light, like a light 4-season tent, which is not super easy to make, and it's good.
Dave, when we saw them at Outdoor Market Alliance Media Day, whatever it was last summer, didn't they have weren't they kind of starting to figure out their own sort of jet oil
they have
alternative
one.
as well?
The wind burner.
Yeah, right.
The wind burner.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So
I honestly put
Okay.
but they're quintessential gear brand. I think they're solid. And,
They're Washington, right?
Well, they're part
Yes.
of CDMSR, Cascade Designs.
That's right.
Yeah, well, it also includes Thermarest would be the other big brand under that umbrella.
Yeah.
But they've also got like Platypus and I think Sea Line and a few others that are in
Don't
there.
forget
So,
Pack Towel.
but I think we're talking brands here, not parents. But their tents like the Hubba Hubba series
Oh, I forgot they make the
is
Hubba
great.
Hubba. Yeah, that's a good tent.
Yeah.
all right, so I made MSR Auto green. They're green there. So we have 2 greens so far. Sea to Summit and MSR are green. And we're at number 14, which is Coleman.
Just flaming red. Just so red.
So red. You're so red.
No, it's just no. I actually, I mean, when I before I got into the industry, I must admit, I had a Coleman tent. That was my car camping tent. Was before I got
It was probably fine,
religion.
right?
He's not dead.
was great.
He's still here.
Yeah, right.
It was great. It was a massive 8-person tent for a family of 4, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, Coleman, you at least have to mention, Justin and I have talked about it over on Gear and Beer, the other podcast we've done about their lanterns and the sort of like, the collectors who are, literally go looking for old school Coleman lanterns and have little collections of them and stuff like that. It's a legacy product, legacy brand. The flip side of would you carry this in the store? It's like if you walked into a store and they didn't have Coleman, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, where's your Coleman stuff at all?
That would be awesome.
No, not at all. Not in a. I mean, Moose Jaw, we didn't carry Coleman until maybe the very, very end, and then they had like an upper level tent line that we picked up on. But no, Coleman. It for specialty outdoor, no.
They do make good stuff. I mean, my lantern's phenomenal. Their stoves are great. I'm sure that they have to be like the best selling like camp stove. I'd be shocked if they weren't. And they're very good
for car camping. Yeah,
but like I just would never. I mean, even though I know it would work great and it's probably less expensive, I'd still get something from like Camp Chef or Everest, or I'd get a different brand for really no reason.
Well, and to your point about the tent you had, Owen, about all of these, none of this is a judgment on the quality of any of the gear or the brands we're talking about, right? What do we all say relentlessly on the show is everybody makes stuff that works really, really well, right? So this is truly more of a brand and a positioning conversation more than it is anything else. So
yeah, and to your point, Justin, that is when I go car camping, it is a Coleman stove.
Yeah,
classic Coleman stove.
I have a Coleman stove. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, number 13, Camelback. Now, there was a time when Camelback would have been the greenest of greens, I feel like. They were like the early, mid-2000s to 2010s between the invention of the hydration pack or the popularization of the hydration pack at the very least. Along with then, they were probably the next big bottle brand after Nalgene had sort of like had their time. That was the flip bite valve bottles were huge for a long time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But, I don't know about Camelback today. I'm curious what you guys think about Camelback.
My impression is, aren't they on a pretty big downswing? I mean, just business-wise, generally speaking. I used to have a neighbor who was a designer there, and he was talking about how they were moving, because they're not in Northern California anymore. They're moving a lot of people to like Costa Mesa or something, Irvine, somewhere down south.
Well, they're kind of caught in that whole revelist thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he just felt like there wasn't a lot of innovation going on. So I mean, he left before that even happened, and he was a designer. But their stuff, I mean, their stuff is good. Like if you see, it's fine.
It's kind of like Marmot being owned by Newell in a way, right? It's kind of like how probably the bad ownership is really maybe less inspiring ownership is sort of as taking its toll on a brand that was at one point pretty dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think again the category they make packs, not backpack, not technical gear in that regard. They have coolers and drinkware, and it's just very accessory. Just very accessory.
their hydration packs are like it was one thing when they were the only ones that made them, but
Right.
there's kind of no reason to get a Camelback versus like a Hydro Flask.
There's other players
Yeah.
that would cover that category.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, it's more complementary. It's not primary, right? It's just more complementary.
Mm-hmm.
They have a pretty big military business too, which I imagine is probably what's keeping them where they are.
Yeah, good point.
I would think. We also didn't mention we should have said at the top, we are not talking about like skiing and biking, and we are definitely going. If you couldn't tell by now, we are firmly in the kind of more camping, hiking kind of side of the industry here.
You already put them in red. Okay, yeah, they're red.
Next on
They're
Rock
red.
Fight is snowboarding a sport. Right there.
I happily comment on that.
Boy, here we go.
Right.
Number 12 on the list, Petzl. Now, Petzl's an interesting one, right? Because that's a climbing brand, but also they make headlamps and they make a lot of different things. So, how do you guys feel about Petzl?
I'm on Team Petzl. I think it's gear.
Would you like to expand on that, Dave?
No, not really.
Yes,
I
please.
He just wanted to say
just want to say Petzl. I want to say that they
a fun name.
illuminate the conversation. I just want to keep running with that.
Okay, you know what?
These Petzls are making me
his
thirsty.
micro and yours off too? Actually, Owen and I will handle the rest of this.
That's probably a good idea.
I would, Petzl, it's definitely a gear brand. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they make some obviously core
That's not a
climbing
great
gear.
compliment.
The,
Definitely a gear brand,
They do
you know?
exist.
They do exist.
They do have a
but-
business license.
But no, I mean, it's a core gear brand, the Gree and all the product, and they have had some innovations over the years. I will tell you that they've become more and more a headlamp brand over the last decade.
Yeah, that's how I think of them.
I would, if I had to guess, headlamps is at least a third of their business today, at least in the U.S. market.
But I would say they probably should be green for exactly what you just said. Because if you're gonna stocking your shelves, you're gonna want headlamps, and you probably would have BD and a few other brands, maybe headlamps along with Petzl. But even if you're not a huge climbing store, you would want to sell a Gree. You would want to have a couple basic climbing items for people, even if they're just going to the rock gym, things like that. There's some crossover there that you probably would want to have in your shop. I argue they should be green.
They should be green, but I think ultimately there's going to be another bigger brand that's also in climbing and headlamps that's going to knock them off the list. But sure, let's give them
green them up.
for now.
Green them up.
Green,
Okay.
definitely green.
And
Yep.
Dave already endorsed them, so we're
That's
good.
exactly right. I'm in for the helmets.
All right, we made it to Thermarest at number 11.
I think they got to be green too. I mean, because you're going to have. Are you going to have Thermarest in your store?
Well, if you're only going to carry one pad, what's it going to be? One sleeping pad.
It's got to be.
It's got. Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, they make the best lightweight pad in the world. The Neo. God, what is it called? It's Neo something X.
Neo Air.
Neo
Yeah,
Air.
right.
God, that thing's good.
And I would say that they've been one of the more innovative pad companies too over the years.
And their sleeping bags, if they still make them, they've made them for a while, are really good too. I don't know if they still do.
Yeah, and what other brand on this list is like the Kleenex of a category?
Yeah,
right?
good point.
Like, do you have are you going backpacking? You get your Thermarest? It may not even be Thermarest, right?
But is it gear or is it an accessory?
That's gear. That's one of the big.
That's gear.
I mean,
Come
sleep
on.
system. That's a big three.
Yeah. And I think as we get to the top 5 here, I think we're going to be forced into scenarios where we have to pick between brands that are kind of in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, Thermarest versus Exped is an example. They both do other things, but big pad brands. And I think that there'll be that conversation to a degree. But it's definitely a green and is worthy of being in that group in my mind.
All right, so we're at the top 10, and we've got 4 greens. Our greens right now are Sea to Summit, MSR, Petzl, and Thermarest. We have 2 yellows in Mountain Hardware and Marmot. And then Camelback, Coleman, Deuter, and Rumpel we have in red. So we have 10 to go. We already have 4 as greens and 2 yellows. And to your point, we're about to have some redundancy here with a couple of brands we talked about, which might swap places. But it's going to get a little more interesting here as we get through the last 10. And at number 10, we have Gregory. Now, Gregory back in the Dana Design days of the 90s was like, are you a Gregory person or a Dana person? And I loved Gregory packs then. I don't really know their relevance in the world of Osprey, how well they do anymore. Clearly, they're still on the list, so they're doing something. What, especially Owen and Justin, what do you guys think of Gregory these days?
I don't.
I mean, they make a solid pack, but yeah, I mean, they're so much of it, and so many of these things does come back to ownership. I mean, now they're owned by Samsonite. Okay, most of the innovation, from what I can see, in the last little while since the acquisition was them bringing in more travel product, like hard side travel cases. It's like, okay, hard. Yeah, I mean, I get travel backpacks and that sort of thing, and I'm like, I love my Osprey travel product, but yeah, I'd give them a yellow personally.
I would start
Yellow.
red. I would go straight red card.
Well, I guess would you put Deuter versus Gregory? Who are you bringing in? Because we gave Deuter a straight red.
Well, that's fair.
I mean, between the two, I'd bring in Gregory myself, but I'd put both, I'd give both of them red. I wouldn't. I mean, if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably pick Gregory. But
it's kind of
the point of yellow is just sort of like a first runner up kind of scenario.
Yeah,
so
we might want to bring them back up at the end, right? If red, it's kind of like we're not even going to acknowledge. So we could give them a yellow if you feel like they should be a yellow, just to kind of have a little more interesting conversation when we get there.
Okay.
Dave, do you still rock Samsonite luggage when you go to the airport, or?
Yes. No, I have Gregory luggage, actually.
Do you really?
No, I don't.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
I was just kind of assessing them and where they fit, and yeah, I think yellow for sure. I don't think you can't just read them out of the conversation, but
I already did.
Will well, other people than Justin can't do that. But whether they'll hold to the end, I don't know about that. But
Are you looking at their website?
I am. In terms of just the legitimate categories that they play in terms of the coverage of the activity base, from long multi-week hike to multi-hour hike. It just they have it covered.
All right, number 9 on the list. Here we get into another one of those redundant ones where we have Exped. After all the Thermarest conversation we just had, where we auto-greened Thermarest. Exped is sort of the brand. Look at a stand on Thermarest corner in a lot of ways, right? They're kind of
they make some
sleep
nice
systems,
stuff.
making specific pads for the back of your pickup truck,
that's what I think of them.
All this up there.
I'm sure they make backpacking pads too, but I primarily think of them as like the really burly but also really comfortable car camping. Like overlanding pad. That's how I always think of Exped.
I mean, they really, I think, sort of revolutionized the market with the Mega Mash back in like 2010, 2011, whatever it was, when they came out with that. And now everybody's got their version. I think it's the Mondo King, maybe, from Thermarest. So they created a subcategory, and they have other things too. Like the Exped is they are a full gear company with backpacks and tents and all kinds of stuff, but they really are known for that, for the Mega Mash.
I would stock them if I had like an overland shop that had outdoor like I'm sure that's a thing, like an overland store, or maybe it's just a garage, and they sell stuff if you want to like fabricate your whatever, you want to fabricate an outdoor rig. I'm sure they sell Exped. Like I would have them at a shop like that. I don't know if I would have them at just a regular outdoor gear shop though.
Because you making the case that they stand apart from Thermarest. So let's yellow them and
Yeah,
just kind
I
of
think
so they're
that's
part
fine.
of the conversation because they're not quite a one for one.
I am going to make this the case for green, just in the sense that we're talking very specifically about their padding, but they're talking about tents, bivy bags, gear stuff, like there's just way beyond that. I would also give them kind of points for design language and innovation in this piece, where you said they took that kind of mantle and ran with it, but their stuff is discernibly different than other brands in the different categories, whether it be packs or bags or tent. There's definitely it's something going on there.
It's a cool brand. I would say, I mean, I love Thermarest, but I would say Exped is the cooler brand of the two.
Thermarest isn't cool.
And
That's the one downside of Thermarest. It doesn't feel cool at all to me.
It's like when we put Merrell in the top 5 footwear, right? No offense, Wolverine, but you know what I mean.
I felt dirty afterwards, I must admit.
All right, you talked about screen. We have Thermarest and Exped, and then we'll have to probably decide when we get to the top 5. But Dave, on a naming convention alone, Mondo King, is that Thermarest or a 1990s porno? Which one do you think?
See, I like Mondo King. I'm down with that, regardless of what it comes from.
You do like Mondo King, don't you, Dave?
I do. It's right there. You go. It's kind of like phenomena. I don't care where it comes from. It's fantastic language, right?
All right, this is either going to be a really quick conversation or a really long conversation. Number 8 on the list, Kelty.
We know how you feel, Brian. Or sorry, Colin. We know how you feel. So lead us off.
I'll stay back. Yeah, you guys go.
Lead us off. No, come on.
The problem with Kelty is it's to me the quintessential zombie brand of like one where Kelty for the longest time was almost at one point was definitely an it brand, right? Revolutionizing backpacks and you got to have Kelty in the 90s. Like it was just a stalwart brand. People were going to come in like, you can always sell them a Kelty. I used a Kelty pack when I climbed Mount Shasta and Rainier, and then it just kind of it just doesn't. Where'd they go? They just kind of evaporated from the scene. I was when we were doing all the zombie brand stuff last fall. I texted a couple of dealers, and they're like, "Yeah, like 4 or 5 years ago, we just sort of stopped buying them at specialty." So I assume that's ownership. I'm assuming it's the same sort of story as a lot of these other folks. I also, but it's a weird one. Or the conversation, if I went into any store and they had Kelty on the wall, I wouldn't, be put off by it or anything like that. It's like, oh yeah, you got Kelty. That I get it. So it's kind of maybe they're not quite fully succumb to the zombie virus just about yet, but they're definitely headed that way. It feels like.
I wouldn't call them a zombie brand, but I do think they have an important place to play in the market in that they are not as expensive as some of these Uber other brands that are out there. They provide you can actually get $100 sleeping bag from these guys that'll work and it'll be good. And so they do fill the chasm a little bit between Coleman and whatever, Nemo, right? That said, though, for most outdoor gear shops, because of that, they don't get picked up, ironically, because the outdoor gear shop would rather sell you the $200 down bag from, name the company, than the $130 one from Kelty. So
I guess I'd call them a zombie because they were once right there with the Gregorys, the Danas back in the day, Marmots, the Deuters today, and now they feel more like Slumberjack. Not to take a shot at Slumberjack, but it's just like that feels more like big box outdoor. All very functional stuff. We did a Slumberjack episode on gear and beer, right? I mean, it's good stuff, but you're just kind of in that. That's where you play now, and you used to be up here in the major leagues, and now you're kind of down at AA.
And they do some volume. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
They're high on the list.
But could I ever see them in the top 5? No.
It'd be tough.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, does price positioning have anything to do with gear positioning? I mean, it's all gear.
It all works.
The whole brand is a gear brand. That's centered around that. The fact that they play on a lower price position that is a wider, broader market shouldn't really necessarily get in the way of that. You can get a 3-person tent for $200 cheaper than anybody else we've talked about.
It's a good point.
Right.
It's a really good point.
But I'm just.
Do we yellow Kelty to kind of like keep them in the conversation?
I think you have to, and I think you have to feel ashamed that you yellowed them. but
Right.
they're
Do
still
you mean
yellow.
rather than green to them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm just
I was
throwing
just trying to
things
pick
out.
the shade of red I was going to use. And I'm sure, I didn't.
I have a Kelty product that I bought with my own money. How do you feel about that?
Right, and you probably got a good deal
Yeah.
from it. Yeah, there you go.
1982. When was that?
I do. I have the Kelty Cabana. It's like it's what we use when we go to the beach. It's like a
Yeah, no, they were a leader in that whole sun shelter
Yep.
space.
Yep.
Well, you put a Kelty against Marmot. Like, who do you go? That's probably who it'll come down to when we have the conversation at the end, right? It's Kelty versus Marmot in a lot of ways. I mean, what's the difference between those two brands right now?
See, I think there's a perfect example. Marmot, they started in the same place. Marmot chose an apparel side trail, and so they have moved that way.
yeah.
Kelty didn't. They
Right,
have
that is the difference.
stayed true to that gear. Now the price went down. That trail went down, but still on the trail
There's
side.
something attractive about Kelty, and I don't know what it is. Like, to be honest, like if I for some reason had a full Kelty setup where that was just all this, everything I had was Kelty, it would be fine. And like, I like their colorways. Like, I like their design a little bit. Like, there's nothing wrong with Kelty, like, at all. I just if I have I have the means. Well, I don't really have to pay for things, so I usually have higher end stuff. But I mean, I would be happy with full Kelty products. Like, no issues at all.
Yeah, same. I mean, Kelty's my go-to folding camp chair.
Mm-hmm.
Great product, works well. Not over-engineered like crazy aircraft aluminum. It just works.
I'm talking myself into greening Kelty.
Wait till we get into graphic design. Come on, you want to go elitist?
Next one list, I don't have much of an opinion on. I've never really used much of their stuff, and it's Dakine.
Huh.
Other than my mountain bike tailgate, the cover of my tailgate for my mountain bikes. Like, I have a Dakine one of those. That's like the only Dakine product I've ever owned. I've never had any backpacks or anything from Dakine.
I've had all kinds of Dakine stuff. All kind of Dakine. I wouldn't even think of them on this list.
They're a little bit more. There's a kind of I think it's a cool brand, but there's more of an edge to the brand. A little bit more street. Obviously, snow, skate, surf, kind of whatever. Core gear brand, I wouldn't.
They make.
So.
I have Dakine leashes. Like, there's no way they can be on this outdoor gear list. Like, there's just
That's
no
true.
way.
I do as well. Actually, I forgot I had a Dakine.
Justin, we don't want to hear about your personal fetishes.
What?
Oh, okay, I guess Justin, you're the Gimp now. That's your new nickname.
So glad that's where your mind went.
Dakine is
that
red.
makes you
Yeah.
When we're doing the 80th version of this and we get to some other category, Dakine. Hey, Dakine, we can talk about them later. Number 6 is Yakima. And we do have Thule is on the list. It's coming up, so we will have it. We could do them both right now if you guys want, because I can't imagine both would carry into the finals if either of them would, right? So we may as well just combo Thule and Yakima right now.
The racks.
The rack,
Yes.
the rack category. Yeah, the dominant rack category. Any thoughts? But does anybody actually have a preference? Because if you said to me, "Here's your Yakima rack on your car," I'd be like, "Sweet." Like, "Hey, here's your Thule rack on your
I've
car."
gone
I'm like,
back
"Hey,
and
great."
forth. I felt like Thule had a bit more of a prestige about it. I think for a while. I don't know.
I like square bars more than round bars.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to that. The only bike rack I have right now is Thule. I'd be happy with. To be honest, I probably wouldn't buy a Thule or a Yakima if I was going to buy a bike rack, but I have a Thule and it works fine. Yakima makes real good boxes. I mean, my cargo box is a Yakima. I'm very happy with it.
I have a Thule box that's great too. I
don't know.
I mean, any insight from your Moose Jaw days, Owen, about Yakima versus Thule? Was it kind of 50-50 on the spreadsheet at the end of the year? I mean, what was the experience there?
Thule did better, I think. I think slightly elevated brand. I mean, Yakima's great. Again, my personal roof rack is a Yakima. My personal hitch mount is a bike rack is a Yakima. They make great product. You couldn't go wrong with either of these brands. But if I had to pick one rack brand to have in my store and I could only have one, it would be Thule.
Yeah, I could see that.
I guess, are they both red? Because I don't think either one of these would be in the top 5.
What I would tell you is selling racks in outdoor gear stores is tough, just because of the level of
Can you put this on my car for
customization
me?
and stuff, and then you get sued when it falls off and hits somebody. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have either of them.
Yeah,
I
think it's an acknowledgement that rack is a fusion space in between these categories that kind of exists on its own, and
Yeah, because you can make the case it's almost an accessory in a
It's
way,
right,
right?
right,
But
and you
it's
can make the
really
case
gear.
that it's gear, right? So
it's a gear
it's over
accessory.
here, right? It's a dwarf
A gear
store
accessory.
over there.
I like that.
I like that
That's
term.
new.
Well, should we do the gear accessory
Mhm.
episode? It'll be all coolers and bike racks. So,
Yeah.
all right, this next one to me is Auto Green, and it's Big Agnes.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And well, first of all, from an innovation perspective, just what they did and how they came at camping from just a different angle. The whole comfort size angle was very new when they did. Obviously they've continued to innovate with their product over the years. I think they've pissed some people off of late with some of the discounting that they've done. I'm guessing if you asked Wes Allen, he would probably have a thing or two to say about these guys. Oh my gosh. But yeah, they can't not be green.
I think I agree with all that. I mean, I put Big Agnes in the same category in terms of, I realize none of the things that I do are this serious, but I would like trust my life to their products. You know what I mean? Like if I was going somewhere gnarly, I'd take Big Agnes and I wouldn't think twice. Same with like Nemo, same with Sea to Summit. Like I just feel like it's a top shelf. There's absolutely nothing to complain about. Really like their stuff. Would absolutely recommend them and often do to people. So yeah.
Dave, you have an aunt named Big Agnes. You want to tell us a little about her, or
Mean as a snake.
Yeah, this actually gets harder because the last three, here, let me just rattle off the top three because on their own they're all auto greens, and now we're gonna have a real problem because we got a lot of greens. We have
We've only got 5.
Black Diamond. Yeah, I know. Black Diamond, Nemo, and Osprey. I mean, how do you make the case for any of those to not be green?
They have to be green.
They really do.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they have to be green,
Really
and you
backed
have to
ourselves
suck
into
it
a
up
corner here,
and
guys.
just realize that round 2 is brutal.
Brutal because everyone else is fighting over 2 spots basically. Because like Nemo, if I had to pick one brand, it would be Nemo.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's also one of the few brands at the top towards the top of this list that is still run by its founder, Cam, and it shows. The product is awesome. It is different. It's innovative. The Wagon Top 4 is my personal camping tent. So yeah, I mean, you'll have to fight me if it's not on the list.
I think I can make it a little easier. I mean, really, if you have Nemo, you probably don't need Sea to Summit. And if you have Nemo, you probably don't need Big Agnes. I mean, Big Agnes makes jackets.
I was going to say the same thing.
And other things I think Nemo doesn't. But I mean, Nemo, for the most part, is going to fill that same role for those. And I would choose Nemo over those other two. So.
No, I agree. I think that's a few years ago, Big Agnes would be in the Nemo spot, or we'd be like, well, they're number one, probably would be the thing. But I think Nemo has really just ascended, and even just the backpacks they've released and the environmental piece that they're doing.
Yeah.
On other packs. I mean, Big Agnes had some good environmental wins too. It's not to take away from that, but it's how do you not have Nemo at number one? I just don't. You can't on this list. Now, Black Diamond, I don't want to skip over them, or Osprey. We should talk about both of them. BD is coming out of a bit of a lull. We've had Neil Fisk on the show, and it sounds like they're really positioning to go in interesting places and different than a lot of these other brands because, I think this is who you were referring to, Owen, when we were talking about Petzl. I mean, they are the climbing brand now, and they are owning that space. They're trying to claim that space. Like, we are the climbing brand. We are a climbing brand, not an all mountain brand. It's all mountain stuff, right? But we are a climbing brand. And so to that point, they really do stand apart on this list against everybody else. There's less crossover into this space when you look at this list for BD. And then, of course, Osprey is, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, right? I mean, it's like...
you can't not have Osprey.
You have to have Osprey.
Yeah.
You got, right?
This is actually not that hard.
100%.
Honestly, I think we're all going to agree on the top 5.
Well, we have 9 greens right now.
I think we're going to watch this. I bet you. Well, I don't know how we could do this. I bet if we all filled out 3, 4, and 5 right now, I bet it'd be this.
Justin's going to end the pod.
No, I bet it would
now.
be
Here
the same. I bet if we take 10 seconds and come up with a 3, 4, and 5, I bet it's the same for everybody. Maybe not the same order.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's talk it through here.
Okay.
All right. So we have here are the greens heading into the finals, right? So we have Sea to Summit, Mount MSR, Petzl, Thermarest, Xped, Big Agnes, BD, Nemo, and Osprey.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go do Xped versus Thermarest. We can't have both.
Xped.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I've got to go Xped. Much as I love my Thermarest,
Even though Thermarest is the Kleenex of a category.
I still think
I'm with you guys, actually. I would want the cooler brand.
Yeah.
I want the cooler brand, but I just want to, give Thermarest a moment.
love Thermarest, but I'd still
We did.
pick
We
Exped.
gave him a moment.
Yeah.
It's Exped.
Wow.
See, I told you.
Dave off the top row.
And I already know the next two.
Okay. All right. Where do we want to go next? Do we want to do a Petzl versus BD?
It's BD.
BD. I mean, come on.
BD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have MSR. We took out MSR was at Cedar Summit, Beg Agnes. We gave those all to the Nemo spot, right?
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
I would
don't
put
know about
MSR on
MSR.
the list.
I think MSR. I would put MSR does more
That's
in terms of some of their things,
That's exactly how I
filtration,
figured it would
snowshoes,
work
etc.
out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Notice you say that you didn't say the list earlier. Just now,
I'm
no matter
pretty sure. I
what,
bet you had we all
you-
just taken 30 seconds and written on the last three, it would have been those three, right? Like you're not going
So
to.
what you're saying is, Justin, we wasted everyone's time here. We could have just started at
No,
the top and be done by
I
now.
mean for these last three, like once we had Nemo and Osprey, I think the last three just kind of fill in. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what other.
I can't disagree.
Yeah.
We did not mention the yellows, which were Mountain Hardware, Marmot, Gregory, Kelty, which actually is funny how much those kind of cross over with each
Yeah.
other. The so for the top five, we have Nemo, Osprey, Exped, BD, MSR. Does that feel like the list? Do we want to make any argument for anything else?
I've detected maybe something that at least needs to be put into the conversation that we have have left out. Speaking of acronyms, NSR, or excuse me, NRS.
Oh, the paddling brand.
Yeah. With a substantial product list
We
of.
did kind of ignore paddling.
Wait a second. Wait.
We said Camp High Climb
Yeah.
going in.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, the
Yeah.
same with like Dakine. Like it's kind of a specialty thing.
Honestly, the most boring brand on this list is probably Osprey. And talking with the folks at Osprey at Outdoor Market Alliance last year, I was actually pretty impressed with kind of their brand strategy. Like they said, they acknowledged like, hey, like we've been big for years. We could have gone down the road of like, let's have an apparel line. Like, nope, we do backpacks, and we do backpacks really, really well.
Real good.
And I bet it's frustrating to all the gear testers and YouTubers and media people out there that anytime they try an Osprey product, it's probably great. It's just like it performs, does what they say they're going to do. It's in the right price range. They kind of check all the boxes.
Right.
It looks good.
Yeah, right.
Good colors.
It's so great. I mean, my go-to carry-on is wheeled carry-on is an Osprey. It's so light, but that thing is an absolute beast. It inhales luggage. It's so great.
I mean, I've worn so many backpacks. I love cottage industry stuff. Like my wife when we used to backpack all the time, she uses an Ula. Like they don't get a whole lot cooler, like in terms of like cottage industry brands. I would always Osprey all day long. Always. I've just nothing has even come close to the comfort and
Their
performance of an
suspension
Osprey.
system is just
It's amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
So is BD the sort of dingleberry on this list because they're so specific to a category?
And we are deciding to diss paddlers and not include NRS.
We'll do a
Correct.
paddle and bike ranking. We'll do
There you
paddles
go.
and bikes.
Send your complaints to at rockfight.com. He hates you, and it's clear. So take us through, Colin. Take us through.
All right. The top 5 gear brands as determined by the Rock Fight. Number 1, Nemo. Number 2, Osprey. Number 3, Exped. Number 4, Black Diamond. And number 5, MSR. Send all of your complaints, all
when
of
is this
your
dropping?
issues to myrockfight@gmail.com.
When is this dropping?
This is out next Monday the 10th.
All right, I'll make sure to not look at LinkedIn that day.
All right, well, we will wrap it up there. Come back later this week on Wednesday when Justin and I will be running through some headlines come out of the outdoor adventure community, and then come back on Friday to hear my conversation with Peter Wickham of Tersus Solutions. We want your emails, like we've been saying this entire time, especially about this episode. Send them to myrockfight@gmail.com. If we get enough, we'll do a whole mailbag episode just about this list. The Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. Our producer today was David Karstad. Art direction provided by Sarah, I got COVID, Gensert. And for Justin Hausman and Owen Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening, and here to take us out, it's our guy Krista Meigs. He likes gear. He likes rock and roll gear, and he's going to sing the Rock Fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters. No, nobody wants to
Bye.
do a little noise or
Occupy the space there. I mean,
that's perfect. Actually, I will leave all that in.
Rock fight.